Welcome back to American Republic. This is the last video that we will be doing for week 4, and we'll also be finishing those today. We're at Roman numeral 4, the consequences of the New Deal. So hopefully you've done the homework, you've taken the quiz, and I'll be assigning one more homework at the end of this lesson. You may have noticed a video that I added to the 8th grade playlist. It's a video of live at the time, footage of the Hindenburg Zeppelin that I mentioned in class yesterday going down. And just wanted to give you a visual as to, the monstrosity, the giant Zeppelin that it was, and how quickly it just went up in flame. So just some interesting information. I know it was a disaster. It's not something to dwell on, but just recognizing that those were some of the big events that took place in the 1930s besides the Great Depression. So let's finish the notes. We're at Roman numeral 4, the consequences of the New Deal. As we all know, all consequences have both positive and negative consequences. So what were some positive consequences of the New Deal? Number 1, it improved conditions since the beginning of the Depression. Business profits and farm prices were up, and unemployment had dropped. Electricity had been extended to many rural areas. Public works and conservation had all increased. Number 2, it restored the people's confidence in America. Roosevelt, despite his actions and failures, had offered hope to the people who had no hope. People trusted him to do something about the problem. Although conservatives bemoaned the changes brought about during Roosevelt's presidency, Americans continued to enjoy a free nation run by elected officials. In many countries, the Depression led to the replacement of democratic governments by dictators. In Europe, the rise of these dictators led to World War II. If one judges the New Deal in its contemporary context, i.e. in contrast to the dictatorships in Europe at the time, fascist Italy, Nazi Germany, and communist Soviet Union, the New Deal socialism seems rather mild. In light of the dire situation in the U.S., 25% unemployment, and the collapse of the banking system, it was probably unwise for the government to do nothing. In fact, FDR warned that America might succumb to European-style extremists if Congress did not enact his measures. Even Hoover, a staunch capitalist, had initiated some government efforts to solve the problems. In contrast to previous U.S. history and a strict interpretation of the Constitution, such actions were radical, though not as radical as the actions of European countries. Americans can be thankful that a demagogue like Hitler or Mussolini did not rise to power during the Depression. There were also negative consequences of the New Deal. Oh, by the way, let me go back and say this. This is the topic of your second essay, starting at Roman numeral 4, the consequences of the New Deal. If you want to go into more details, you want to look into the book to find some more answers, pages 448 and 449 are the pages that you'll want to refer to when answering this essay. So positives: improved conditions since the beginning of the Depression and restored the people's confidence in America. But there were also negative consequences as well. 6 years after beginning his New Deal plans, the U.S. was still below 1929 levels. The U.S. had not recovered from the Depression. Prices for farm products were still low, and 9 million Americans were still unemployed. If you look at page 449, it shows you a chart of the Dow Jones Industrial Average. That's a good example of how the stock market was doing that you see in the blue, as well as it shows you the unemployment numbers as well. Number 2, another negative was the growth in government spending and debt. FDR had taken America off the gold standard. He also allowed the government to control the value of the currency in the future. In 1933, the national debt was $2.6 billion. By 1939, the end of the decade, it had nearly tripled. Roosevelt had set a bad precedent with high government spending and unbalanced budgets. The people continued to favor government aid. Number 3, we see the power of the government and the presidency increasing significantly. The size and responsibility of government grew under FDR. When the government takes control, it rarely gives it up. When the people give up their personal rights and responsibilities to the government, they rarely get them back. And then number 4, people became more dependent on the government to supply all their needs rather than on God. When an economic problem hits America, when a pandemic strikes America, the people turn to the government to save the day. I always said in the notes, someday, well, we could say today, the government will not always be able to fix everything. Had Americans looked to God, who takes care of his own, things would be different. As Christians, we need to remember to put our trust in Jesus and not in our government. That, my students, is the end of the notes. For your homework, your last assignment, it's page 199 and 200 in your activities book. So you'll be turning in 2 homework assignments and your quiz in the packet. Do not turn in your notes. You need that for your test next week. If you turn in your notes with your packet, you won't have them for the test. Some of you will be sad, some of you will even cry, some of you will pout, some of you will email me, some of you will Skype and say, Mr. Merrill, my notes. And I will say, sorry, at least you have your book. You can still use that to take the test. So please, please, please remember to keep your notes for this upcoming test and forever. Keep your notes always until we finish the chapter, until we've completed the test entirely. Keep your notes. Hope you all have a good day. Hope you enjoy your weekend. Be good, do good. Bye.